Hey everyone, it's Sally again on another Magic Mic moment. And today I'm very excited to be sitting down and having a chat with Tobi Nagy. So welcome, Tobi.
Thank you, Sally.
So I'm just going to read in a little bit of an intro to you, and then we'll have a little chat. So Tobi Nagy is an entrepreneur, a professional educator, a startup strategist, and founder of the BCF Coaching Academy, which is an online education institute for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to launch their next big idea in a lean and low risk way. So Tobi has been a serial entrepreneur. I love that, a serial entrepreneur for over 28 years, building businesses across many countries and industries in areas as diverse as renewable energy, commodities, fashion, food, and ecotourism. So over the last decade, he has been a university lecturer in Melbourne, developing and delivering courses in entrepreneurship and innovation, but since has retired to live an idyllic lifestyle in the Fiji Islands. Now he just focuses on developing online courses and programs for entrepreneurs and creating mental wellness retreats for founders globally. So Tobi is very passionate about education, innovation, and purpose-based entrepreneurship development, and helping entrepreneurs follow their dreams, passions, and lifelong goals of running their own enterprises. Wow, Tobi, wow, you're talking my language, baby. This is amazing. Love to hear a little bit more about your journey. And
thank you.
Wow.
And it's a serial entrepreneur, not serial murderer, right? So
I loved it. I just love something different because that's what you are, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey, maybe some of the challenges you've had to get to where you are right now, because you had an interesting career and journey so far.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll start at the beginning of how I got into entrepreneurship in the first place. That is always interesting because people start for different reasons. And I guess when you ask people about why most people start businesses because they want to be their own boss, right? So, which is the worst reason to start a business, because you are your own worst boss, right? So if you can't work, say, in an organization, you're highly unlikely to, be really successful at, as your own boss, right? So, so the reason I guess I started my entrepreneurship journey was back in 1993, and I graduated from university, and we had this thing called the recession we had to have. If you remember Australia's last recession by Paul Keating, and couldn't get a job basically. So I was an engineering graduate, Monash University, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff, on the top 3 in the class, top 10% of the university, but couldn't get a job. And in fact, no one, actually got a job unless they had a really strong network. So instead of sitting around, I started my own business, and my business was what I'd loved. And I loved at the time, it was surfwear. And so I went and started building a business plan for surfwear company to, try to be the next Rip Curl, whatever it was, printing t-shirts. And that's what I loved. I just followed what I loved. And of course, what happened was I did get a job eventually about a year later, I think it was. And it was a great job as an engineer, but I had the choice of the engineering job or entrepreneurship. And my sister was an accountant, and I told her I'm just going to go for the entrepreneurship. And she just goes, "You're crazy." And the thing that I thought at the time, I know what's going to happen as an engineer. You spend 5 years, you're going to become a manager. Another 5 years, you're going to be a top manager. Then it's a linear path. But with entrepreneurship, boy, I didn't know where I was going to go. So where I would have ended up, or where I am going to end up, could end up anywhere, because it's a non-linear path. So I pursued that. But what was interesting was, I went at that time, because I was unemployed, I went on this thing called the NEIS course. And of course, the government at the time gives you a year's worth of, equivalent to the dole. You write a business plan, you spend 3 months writing a business plan, then you get mentored for 9 months, and end up spending all this time writing a business plan, which was thick as the Bible, right? Really thick, right? And then what happened was I started the business, I went and bought the equipment, invested money into it, into t-shirt printing. And one day a friend of mine said, "Snowboarding is a really big industry, and I want to get into snowboarding, but I can't seem to find the right gear, like for snowboarding, because all this American gear is not designed for Australian wet snow. It's for dry powder snow, so you get wet basically." So he said to me, "Can you make clothes? Can you make snowboard wear?" And I just said, "Yeah." without having any idea how to do it, right? So what happened was I ended up having a timeline. Okay, it was in January. He wanted it by April, so he can go to the mountain by May, so he can start his season on the mountain. So what happened was, okay, went to a mentor and said, I don't know how to do this. How do you do this? He said, okay, well, you go see such and such, such and such. So I went and followed all the routes, ended up making the sample, and what we call probably the minimum viable product these days. And it was crappy. And when I say crappy, you couldn't even do the zip up properly. So when it happens in the snow, you try to do the zip up, in the snow, and you can't do it up. It gets caught in your underwear and stuff like that. It's not a good look, right? It's really really impossible. But the point was, what I understood then was this thing we call lean. It's having a lean business, and that is developing something based on what the customer wants. So the customer came to me and said, "I've got a problem. Can you solve it?" I solved it. And guess what happened to the business plan for the t-shirt printing?
What?
It ended up being great doorstop. That's all it's good for, right? So because the minute you write the business plan, bang, it's not going to happen. It's like Mike Tyson says, you may have a plan, but as soon as someone punches in the face, then it's the plan goes out the window. Yeah, the plan's only as good as your first punch in the face, right?
Yeah.
So for that journey, I went on to become one of Australia's leading, niche snowboard manufacturers. I exported to New Zealand, to Japan, to Switzerland. And after a while, just sort of got to the point where I wasn't having fun doing what I was doing. And what I was doing was a lot of fun, going in the snow and all that sort of stuff. But it started to become serious, right? It's turned away from art into more of a hardcore business.
Yeah.
I had a shop as well in Fitzroy, so I sold that and just basically moved on. And since then I've ran a range of businesses. But one of the things I did learn to understand is when you start a business, you focus on what the customer needs. Right? Too many people create businesses, and I guess they create on their own vision, which is out of touch with what the reality of the customer wants. So my experience, any business I deal with, is that they always have an idea, right? They go build that idea, but when they actually go to the market, it becomes something completely different. So what we call a pivot, it just pivots to something else, right? It's very rare that you have a business plan, you start it, and then you run it. That's why business plans are useless, absolutely useless when you've got a startup, because there's no sense of reality, and the reality is determined by what the customer says. So I guess come along, a few years after that, I was running a range of businesses. One of them was a tourism business in Fiji. I fell in love with Fiji, so I started traveling to Fiji to and from, and then it's sort of over the years sort of come along a little bit more, running businesses. I've run food businesses, I've run tourism businesses. I got into commodities as well, which is where I made some decent money. And then then back in 2006, I decided, well, I'd really love the entrepreneurship thing. I love entrepreneurs. I love the mindset. I want to know more about success and failures, why people fail, and why did I keep messing up all the time. So I went and did my master's in entrepreneurship and innovation.
Wow.
Swinburne University. So
where was that? Sorry.
At Swinburne University.
Yeah, right.
So so then I become an academic. So when I graduated, because one of the things I wanted to know was, can entrepreneurship be taught, or can you have to be born?
Well, I'm dying to know the answer to that one.
Still a question mark.
Really, really.
And the reason is because there used to be three types of people who come to class, right? The people go, I'm going to do the course and become an entrepreneur. And then there'd be people like myself, entrepreneurs, always just want to be better. And there'd be other people like they want to consult entrepreneurs. So they want all the technical stuff, and but they don't necessarily want to be entrepreneur, but they'll be consultants. So those first people used to come, they'd be gone in 6 months, right? Because you just don't do a course and become an entrepreneur, right? So what I've discovered, I've done a lot of research since this, about a decade's worth of research. And one of the things I have discovered, you may experience entrepreneurship, right? You may go to school as an entrepreneur, right? But entrepreneurship has to be discovered. right? It's a discovery process. Some people don't discover it. Some people discover it when they're 8, 9, 10, right? Others discover it when they're later in life. It's a discovery process. It's an aha moment, right? So you're neither born an entrepreneur, right? But you can actually, like leadership, you're not born a leader. You actually progress to a leader. But even having said that, you can progress to a so-called entrepreneurship, but the process has to be discovered, right? Some kids start lemonade stands when they're 12, 13, or swap card businesses, and they end up going to become entrepreneurs. That's about 40% of the population of entrepreneurs, and you ask them, that they actually start a business when they're young. So others discover it, might work for 10 or 15 years in the industry, and then they'll get an idea, they'll go to the boss, and the boss will say, I don't want to do this, and then they'll flip off and start their own enterprise. Or others might hit the glass ceiling, enough for the corporate, then they say, look, I want to start my own side hustle, or my own business, or my own consulting, or whatever. Then they'll flip out of that. And those people in the ladder tend to be far more successful, because they've already got their industry experience, and all they need to do is just learn to hustle. So entrepreneurship is about learning to hustle. And some people in corporate aren't successful with that, because when you're in a corporate, you've got all these resources, and it's easy to start a business when you have resources. But when you're doing a startup, it's you've got to learn to hustle, and that is to work with low resources. It's a case of beg, borrowing, or stealing. Probably not stealing, but resources, and learn to leverage. And if the younger you can learn to hustle, the easier it is to transition in entrepreneurship. But the interesting thing about entrepreneurship, which is not merely mentioned, is it takes about, and this is my research has shown, is that 9 or 10, you have to fail 9 or 10 times before on average, before you succeed as an entrepreneur. So if you're going in your 4th or 5th time you failed in the business or whatever, then you still got a long way to go, right? So don't sort of say, oh, look, I failed 4 times, I'm a failure. It's actually the key to success in entrepreneurship is grit and resilience. So grit is success in any aspect of life. They've studied students, and in students, the ones that do the best to say academia or university, not the smartest kids, they're actually the ones with the most grit, right? And that grit can be translated into entrepreneurship as well. So the ones that are successful have the best resilience and have the best grit, and the best, it's what we call will. They're just willed people. So so I've had lots of experience in this area. So then when I did my master's, I went on, actually started teaching entrepreneurship at the university, places like Swinburne University, RMIT. And that's all I was focused on, is just entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation. And I love it. And I love seeing people transform and develop. And one of the programs that I set up in Swinburne University was a thing called Startup Fundamentals. Right, so I co-created that with another colleague of mine. And what we were doing was, instead of spending time running a business plan, we just said, let's get the students in, right, and let's get them to launch a business, right? So they had 12 weeks, and this Startup Fundamentals allowed you to develop and test your business before you launch it. So they come along, they pitch an idea, they form a group, right? They go and test and develop that idea. And at the end of the semester, they would pitch to like investors or bankers or a panel of people who wanted to get them a real life experience. And that was amazing. Some of the results we got out there was really good. And we were able to test this over 5 years to 500 students, right? So anyway, so that was really cool. And then I decided to retire in Fiji in 2017. And so when I went off there and sort of lived the, I guess the relaxed lifestyle, and then people over there were asking me, look, can you help me with my business? And I'm like, you can't really afford me, but let me just put together a little course, and then we can make it cheap, get 20 people in, and make it worthwhile. So I was running face-to-face courses there in this program, but it was kind of just a sort of a, what would you call it, like a dumbed down mini version, because you can't get too to sort of too many academic concepts. And then this thing called coronavirus came. And I had a family tragedy. So one day I was like, geez, I've got to go. I've got to pack my bag. I've got, put 4 pairs of underwear, T-shirts and some shorts, come back to Australia. Don't worry, folks, I'll be back in a month. It was in March 2020. I'll be back by Easter, no worries. And it sort of came back and the lockdown came. So there was no travel. And I guess I got to a point where I've got no income earning capabilities. What do I do back in Australia? I don't want to be watching Netflix. It's just, let's do something. So then I decided to put everything, what I've learned, what I've developed into an online course, right? And that's called Startup Fundamentals. And what it is, it allows you to test and validate your idea before you launch it. Because too many people are launching businesses that just customers don't care about, or they can't find customers.
Yeah.
Right. So they spend lots of time, money, energy, and opportunity cost, and sometimes even marriages. They might even put their house on the lines just for a wacky idea that may probably not work. Banks will love you if you do that. Yeah, give me your house title, I'll give you as much money as you want.
There you go.
But the thing is, there's no testing validation. You ask people how much research they've done, they go, "Oh, yeah, I think it'll work." Okay, really? How do you know? How many customers do you have? None yet, but your job is to get me customers. I go, no, my job is to help you test to see whether it's worth investing in and how to pick up what we call, I guess, beachhead market. And your beachhead market is the initial market of where you're going to target first when you land. So think, you think Normandy, think France, World War II. Where were the Americans going to land and the British going to land on the beachfront? Well, they've got to land in the most strategic position.
Right.
And so we call this a beachhead market strategy, where we're going to land to get our first clients, right? So because when you ask entrepreneurs, they say, who's this for? Oh, it's for everyone. It's like, well, you're never going to make a business from that, because what I teach is you've got to niche it down.
It's all about the niche.
And the smaller the niche,
Yep.
the more likely you are to succeed.
Yep.
Why? Because your message becomes singly focused,
Yep.
right? And then I say to people, what you need to do is you need to go into that niche, learn to dominate it, and move to the next niche, and the next niche, and the next niche. It's like when I started my snowboarding. So I learned all this without even realizing that it's lean startup. When I started my snowboarding business, I was just focusing on a particular niche market of the snowboarders, and that wasn't the surfer snowboarders. That was the skater snowboarders. Right? The two different sub niches, right? The sub tribes, right? And so when they weren't snowboarding, they were skating, right? They weren't surfing, right? So it's a particular sub-segment, right? That's right. That's allowed me to focus on it. Then what happened was when they weren't on the snow, well, I was developing clothes for them, like shorts and T-shirts and skatewear and all that sort of stuff, right? And then what happened was I started on snowboard wear, went into streetwear, and then I started doing women's wear as well. So women's snowboard wear and then women's wear as well. Right? If I had tried to do that all the time, like from the start, it would have confused the market a little bit. So focus on the niche. And the good thing about the internet these days, you can have the smallest niche in the world, right? And you can find people around the world. In the old days, we used to say, don't do it if it's too small. But now, hey, if you like, if you like wearing rabbit suits and wearing costumes, anime costumes, there's a tribe for you somewhere out in the world. Trust me, right? So just a matter of using the internet to launch into that. So that's what I recommend for people, is just to focus on a niche, right? And learn to dominate that, then move to the next niche. All right. So, so coming back to the story about how, I started developing this course online. I've now put it online. Now I've launched it. Now I'm testing it, running it, and it's really successful. And what I want to do now is obviously to scale it. So I'm already talking to investors, and they were asking me when you want the money. I said, look, I want it in a year time. But with even investors, you don't actually go and ask money from investors. What you do is you build a relationship with them. And what I tell my candidates is, you never ask money off an investor. Why? Because that's what they expect you to do. So you've got to do the opposite. So the opposite is building a relationship. And when I work with investors, I just tell them what I'm doing. I tell them how fantastic what I'm doing. I never say I'm going capital raise. I just tell them, I'm growing, I'm doing this and this. And then they say to me, when you're ready, come and talk to me. And again, I was talking to an investor group this morning, right? And I was just telling you how wonderful. I said, this worked perfectly into this area. And they asked me, well, when are you going to raise capital? Right. And I said, about 12 months. She said, yeah, she said, oh, that sounds about right. You need it. But what I'm doing is I'm warming up the relationship. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling them how wonderful I am without sort of, being ego driven, but tooting your own horn a little bit, and getting them interested. And then what you do is when you go to them, you ask them for feedback. Here is my project, right? I'd love your feedback, right? And you know what? People love helping each other, right? Generally speaking, right? Yeah. So you always open a door that way, and people love to give you feedback. However, I always say to people, send me a one-pager. Now, what happens is the entrepreneurs always send me like a 40-pager.
Yeah.
And with like 6 attachments. Now, if you can't summarize it in one page, then I'm not interested, right? Yeah. So again, this morning, I spoke to another lady, and she runs this thing called Reno. And what it does, it turns documents into, using AI, into one pages.
Wow.
She showed me a demonstration of an article where it's written, academic article, like 40 pages. And you can make them as blog posts, you can make them as summaries, you can make them as Facebook posts, and just runs it through the AI. And the one in front of you, it takes about half a minute. It comes up with a one-pager. And I'm thinking, boy, if we could get that happening.
Oh my God, in my brain would be a good start. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's summarise everything. You can even pick the tag to say blog posts, or Facebook posts. So it turns that article into, or even FAQs. One of the things is FAQs. So you can print out the FAQs within that article. And she showed me different examples of long articles and all sorts of academic articles and as well. Wow. And she's just raised investment. I thought, yeah, it's no wonder she's got the $250,000 to on the first round.
So, yeah, because in this busy world, information overload, and what is it, 3 seconds for blokes and 11 seconds for chicks, or something like that.
It's about right. Yeah.
About our attention span, and it's that you've only got that limited time.
Well, I'm only limited to one page. If you can't explain your concept to one page, I'm not interested. Like maybe 2 pages max, but 1 page is enough. And we call it one page. I ask people, can you send me one page? Yeah, I'll send you 1 page. Ends up being 40 pages, and that's why we have this thing called executive summary. Because if the executive reads it, is not interested, he's not going to go to read. I don't want to read up to page 30 to work out whether I'm interested or not. I want to work out in the first page.
Yeah, I love it, because it's information overload world. 24/7, everything.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Yeah.
It's so just very quickly about that Startup Foundation online course. So how long is that for? And who is it targeted?
It's a 90-day program, and it's a series of video lessons. Yeah. And it's also a coaching program as well, because there's no point in, many people go on to do like online learning, but they fail to complete it.
Yep. I think the stats, without accountability, it's like 90% or something.
It's about 90%. Right? Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. So you need some sort of accountability, but you also need some like a feedback loop as well, or a sounding board. Yeah. So I say, okay, this is the structure. You watch the first 4 videos. Then come back, let's have a coaching session. It's only half an hour. It's just check in. It's usually half an hour a week or 1 hour a fortnight. But most people like it a week, keeps them accountable. Yeah. And then there's also activities involved as well. So you've got to do some stuff as well. And one of the things that they have to go out and do is speak to 30 people within the first 2 months. Yeah. Right. Get some validation. That could be users, that could be competitors, that could be customers, that could be all sorts of different things to try and see if this thing is a real thing.
Yep.
So then the outcome of the program is only 3 outcomes. Yeah, we go ahead. No, we don't. It's rubbish. Go back to the drawing board, or we pivot. But the beauty of the course is it allows you to compress this in 90 days.
Yeah.
So instead of you spending months and months and years trying to work out whether this is going to work or not, we can figure this out really quickly. So fail small, fail early, fail quickly, and fail forward is the motto. Right?
Okay, what was that? Because I say fail fast all the time, right?
Yeah,
So
you have to fail fast, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that you can get to the next idea. Because many entrepreneurs might have 5 ideas. And they go, which one do I start with?
Yeah.
Well, you got to work that out. Basically, test one of them. If not, go to the next one, or go to the next one, go to the next one. And that's the way to do it. Oops, I just kicked my table. The best way to get an idea is to have many ideas.
Yeah,
Right?
I love that.
So we were just talking about that with investors, that how to get unicorns. How do we get a unicorn? And I said, to get a unicorn, you've got to go through 1,000 businesses to get one unicorn.
Yeah.
And if you want 4 unicorns, you've probably got to go through like 20,000 businesses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it. So you want to get a good idea, you've got to have many, right? Because your first idea is, most entrepreneurs go with their first idea, and it's usually the worst idea. It's not about the idea, trust me. It's got nothing to do with the idea.
Yeah, no, I just love this, particularly, this is so timely, particularly with COVID and people reassessing where they've been, they're having time. And as you say, wanting to get out of the rat race and whatever, and looking at different ideas. So this course is just like perfect. And as you say, it's 90 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know just through my kids going to their school things about the future for kids, uni and then onwards. I think it was 8 or 9 career changes the average kid leaving school is going to have.
Oh, easy, yeah.
That's minimum.
Yeah, they say now it's a 2-year gig. So and you've got to be an entrepreneur as you go along, and you've got to be self-evolving, but you've also got to recreate yourself. I do it about every 5 years.
Yep.
But yeah, they say it's 2-year gigs that are occurring, because most people just can only either freelance or get contracts. Yeah. And it's very hard that you're going to get a full-time job where you'll stay in that job for 30 years. But also what happens with corporates as well, the incumbents, they get the rug pulled under them, and then all of a sudden they fall over. I mean, how many large corporations have we seen fall over?
Yeah.
I mean, think of Ansett, for instance, think of OneTel. That was a large corporation. Probably many people won't even know OneTel. But there's lots of these corporations, that are top of their game. And when we look at Alan Bond's thing, you know what I mean? It was top corporate. It was a blue chip corporate and fell over. So just because you're going to be here one day and it's a large corporate doesn't mean you're going to be here tomorrow.
Absolutely. And so I think you mentioned before, you've got to constantly reinvent yourself. You've got to grow some balls, have some resilience, get out there and be prepared to give it a go and fail fast, because it's that a whole lot. It's just not one element, it's the whole package, right? Of within yourself, of it's not just the ideas, it's the confidence, it's the whole lot. What was I going to say before? No, that was leading into the founders retreat that you
So I guess one of my concerns, and I've spoken to many founders and entrepreneurs, as you imagine, I do a lot of research and chat to a lot of people, and so what we've seen is I guess mental health issues that are creeping into a lot of entrepreneurs and founders. And one of the things I highlighted, I did this networking session with a psychotherapist, and she sort of triggered the whole thing for me. And she said to me, post-lockdown, now she gets clients that would never have come to her previously. And she said many of them are suicidal, majority are suicidal, and many of them are successful entrepreneurs or business owners. And she'd never seen anything like this. And in my team, I've got a mental wellness expert from the UK. He's one of the UK's leading mental wellness experts. And he said the next pandemic is not going to be the next variation of the virus. The next pandemic is going to be mental health.
100%. It's speaking 100%. 100%. Yeah. Sorry, keep going. It's just...
So that's what he said. It's going to be because we're only just starting to see the legacy of what's going to happen. And I think it was from the perspective of the the business owner. You know, you've got a business, you're paying all this rent, you've got all this staff and all this. All of a sudden in Victoria, you get 7 lockdowns, right?
Yep.
And then there's flip-flopping. And then what happens is, okay, we open up, now they can't find staff. So they go and run their business on half, right? And the next one is, you know, supply chain issues. So we can't get the chickens in the fridge, you know, if you're running a restaurant. And then now what we're seeing is a shadow. It's a shadow lockdown, and that is either people don't want to go out because they're afraid, or they've got COVID, so they're locked in anyway, or they're just comfortable being at home, so they're not going out and spending money. Right?
Yep.
So and then what's also going to happen now is the interest rates are going to go up, and people are over mortgaged to the hilt. Right? So over leveraging their mortgages, you know, paying, you know, 900,000 for the 2-bedroom apartment in Brunswick, right? So they're not going out and spending all that money that would be on, you know, on lifestyle, all that sort of thing. And as the threat of interest rates rising, it's creating anxiety for people. So, so all this, and you're trying to run a business, you know, oh geez, it's a hard one, right? So what we decided for 2022, our focus will be mental health, right? So, and wellness of just specifically founders, entrepreneurs, and business owners, right? So we're launching what we're calling the Founders Retreat, which is a rest and rejuvenation and relaxation retreat for entrepreneurs, founders, and business owners. But the thing is, there will also be a co-working space as well. So you can actually do your work if you're a digital nomad or have an online business. You have that opportunity. So the focus is on about meditation, relaxation, yoga, you know, spa treatment, if you want to put some cucumbers on your eyes, all that stuff. You get massage as well, all that sort of stuff in a tropical environment, because we know a warm tropical environment is good for the psychology. A place like Bali, well, you know, it's a spiritual center of the earth. So it's running in Bali in May 2022 in Seminyak, Bali, and you can come for 7, 14, 21, or 28 days. It's running for a month, but we realize that maybe not everyone can stay for a month. But our vision is to run this for 5 months of the year across 5 different places around the world. So the first one's in Bali, the next one's in Fiji, third one's in Vietnam, fourth one's in Panama, and the 5th one is going to be Europe, if Europe is still around, probably in a year's time. We're not sure about that one yet, but it could be blown to bits by the time we start this. But given the fact what we're seeing at the moment, but I hope not anyway. But the point is, so it's a vision for us, and we want to make this into a club where founders can come along. And the beauty of being with other founders, you can co-collaborate as well and meet some interesting people. Because one of the issues with being an entrepreneur and mental health is it's a lonely journey as an entrepreneur, right? Sometimes you think that you're experiencing this and you're the only one, but the reality is many others in your cohort would be experiencing the same thing. So if you can share that experience and relate to that experience, then it becomes a healing process. So that's another benefit of being with like-minded people.
Yeah, I just love it. I mean, it's just everything you've been speaking about. It's just like you're captivating me, because mental health is just my biggest concern now for everyone as we're coming out with the uncertainty post-COVID. And you and I have both been in lockdown in Melbourne, so we've experienced, you know, the hardest lockdown in the world. And you know, this total uncertainty. You know, I used to have a gym in strips in the shop thing, and luckily I got out and relocated and built one at home in time. But you know, you said it's just the realities, like there's lack of staff now and there's lack of supplies, and it's just going to be so uncertain moving forward. And it's the perfect time that you have all these different ideas to go out and give it a go. Or if you are going out there already as an entrepreneur, you know, it is exhausting and it is lonely, and it's 24/7, and you have to have very strict boundaries, as you know, and all that sort of stuff. So if you connect with like-minded people and talk the same language, I mean, that is brilliant. And doing it in somewhere, I used to run retreats too, like, you know, health and wellness ones, and it's just the sun on your muscles, relaxing, different environment, switching up the energy. Like, it's perfect. Listening to the sea swishing in as you're lying there having a massage. And it's okay. It's okay to be doing it, giving yourself permission to do it. Like,
absolutely,
super important. I'm a strong believer at least every 3 months, you need to switch up the energy, go away for the weekend. But imagine going away for 7 days, 14, 21, 28 days, and your business will just absolutely rocket because you'll be in a better position, right?
Of course. And you know, people say, can we bring our partners? And we say, hell no. And the reason is you want to bring your partner, go on a holiday and take your partner on a holiday. This is about you. This is about your mental well-being. And of course, your partner doesn't want to be there while you're trying to do business as well. That'd be just boring for them. So the focus is about you and your mental well-being. And if you want to do work, you can. Excuse me. And if you don't, well, that's fine. Go on the beach. And I know for myself, I've spent 3 years in Fiji, and that warmth and that sun actually inspires me and makes me feel good and gives me the warm vibes of my brain. So I can imagine, you know, you're coming from Melbourne after so many lockdowns, you know, you're going to go to a warm spot. We're able to travel now as well. You're going to explode basically. And then imagine the inspiration that you can come back with after a month. You'll be on fire.
Absolutely on fire. I mean, you know, on a mini level, I relocated from the city down to the peninsula, and it was, you know, get out with nature, get by the water. It's so cathartic. It's clearing, you know, and luckily the weather has been amazing in Melbourne this year.
Absolutely.
Humid. I feel like when I go for my walks, I'm in far north Queensland, you know, or on Bali, you know.
I love it. I love the humid weather, so I don't mind. You know, like last night and that night before, as the walking, you know, do my nightly walk. It just feels like Fiji. I love it. You know, I don't have a problem with it. It's just a matter of getting used to it. That's all. Once you're used to it, that's fine.
That's right, and your hair. But I think
women's hair. Yeah, I just fixed my hair. I spent $160 on my hair. It's all gone frizzy. Well, just tie it back.
You know, my mantra this year is to let go, step up and be more, and, you know, be more authentically you. And that's it, just letting that all go, because that last focus with this retreat on mental health, I think this is a key thing to focus on for everyone, because it's not a taboo word anymore. It's someone suffering anxiety, stress, you know, it's the number one thing around affecting everyone around the world. And, you know, the more I delve into it, like the median age for anxiety is 15. So it's starting at a young age. That's the median age. You know, with anxiety and stress, sort of 40s, 50s, with all the things building up, it's starting at primary school. Right. So the more that you can get out and incorporate mental health with entrepreneurship, you know, it's huge, because when you go solo, it's a tough gig. It really is a tough gig.
Yeah, and the facts are that entrepreneurs do suffer an overexposure of mental health issues. So we're trying to get them before it becomes mental health issues. So focus on mental well-being and mental wellness, as opposed to turning into mental health issues. Then you need drugs and all these things to fix it. Well, let's try to prevent that. I'm not saying the drugs aren't you know, don't work or whatever, but let's focus on not getting to that point.
Absolutely, that's exactly. I'm all about preventing illness, right? So it's whatever little things, meditation, mindfulness, you can incorporate, and that's why I like have my journal. Just little things that can help shift and lift your energy.
Absolutely.
Man, you're a fascinating dude, Tobes. So, you know, what do you think is your actual superpower? Because, you know, clearly I'd like to get inside your head sometime. Like, it's amazing.
Well, to be honest with you, it's people. It's about building teams, and networking. That's my superpower that I've discovered recently, right? I never thought I did, but I've been through another networking group called the Connect Collaborative, and I've been able to build myself a team of 10 people around me in 6 months. So it took me 3 months to get the first 5. Now 10 people around me in 6 months, and people are like, wow. Yeah, even the founders are amazed. You're doing really well. What's your secret? And my secret is just essentially build a team around you that you would love to work with. So don't just pull random people in. Look at your gaps. So I've got some gaps in sales and marketing, or I'll bring the sales and marketing people on board. So that's my my super strength at the moment. The second one, which I never thought about, was I've been known to be a good lecturer and a good communicator. And why I say that, the feedback from my students, they say that they love my classes, my favorite classes, and not just bragging, but that's just what the feedback is. I never realized this. And why I never realized this, because at school, I was the worst student in the world. I was the one who was throwing chalk at the teacher's head. Once I threw chalk at the teacher and got him right between the eyes. So that's how bad it was. That was year 12, right? It wasn't like year 7, right? I was just a terrible student. And for me, ending up as a teacher was like my karma. But I realized that, how can I say this? That I know how to disengage students, or people that aren't engaged, and you've got to just be patient with them. And I guess my third superpower is patience, and that's one thing that I had to learn in Fiji. And when you live and do business in a developing country, and especially if you've done business like Fiji or Bali, everything's on Fiji time or Bali time. So you've got to learn patience, and that's one of my lessons I think I had to learn in life. Because now I come back and I'm really patient, and no more road rage, no more screaming at people, no more pulling your hair out. I just don't do it anymore. If the telcos give me the shits, okay, well, whatever, you know what I mean? And just be nice to them, thank you, and I'll see you later. And that's a hard lesson to learn. So they're my 3 superpowers at the moment, which I'm really happy about.
And I would add, with all of that, is your coolness and your calmness. That's what's emanating through for me, is that you can build your teams and get the people around you that you love to work with and look for the gaps. You can be engaging people and have the patience, but it's your demeanor is very calm and cool. It's like awesome.
Yeah. And I guess the 4th one is discipline. I've learned through meditation that no matter what you do in life, especially business, it requires discipline. So discipline thought and discipline action. You don't have that, you've got no chance of success. I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
Because disciplines, if done correctly, become habits, and the habits are the ones that actually you can turn into bad habits, or you can turn into good habits.
Yeah.
Right? They're the ones that I guess mark your ability to be successful. So I just focus on positive habits.
Well, then that kind of leads into my next question, because what do you think is the biggest issue facing your clients?
The biggest issue is clarity.
Right.
Or the lack of clarity, right? And the second biggest issue is hubris or ego. Now, one of the things to be a successful, if you ever studied leadership, I want to talk about Jim Collins. He talked about level 5 leadership, and he did studies on hundreds of entrepreneurs, and he found that the 2 things that bound everyone together was humility and the high level of will. Now, if you've got an ego and you don't have emotional intelligence, which is another area that a lot of people do lack, then the chances of you succeeding as an entrepreneur are very slim, because entrepreneurship is about people, and you've got to learn to work with people. And if you don't like working with people, then entrepreneurship is not for you. Stay as a techie behind a keyboard and just start tapping around like a monkey, right? That's fine, right? But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you've got to have the emotional intelligence and the leadership capability. And what blocks that is the hubris or the ego. And in terms that males suffer from this in a big way. And it's interesting in terms of a lot of my research. One of my researchers found that men are 15 times more likely to fail in the business than females, right? And there's lots of research done on this, but one particular research I found that sort of stated this. And women are better at building a business. And why? And the main reason why is because they listen more and they're more intuitive, and the ego doesn't block them as much as men. And when you ask people why you started the business, and let me tell you, research again has backed this up. About 30% of people start a business because they want to be their own boss, right? Which is the worst reason to start a business. It's your own self is the worst enemy, right? That's a wrong reason to start a business. The right reason to start a business is to solve a problem, and out of that, you solve enough, you build wealth, right? But that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't have clarity. They don't have emotional intelligence, and they have hubris or ego that blocks them. If you can remove that, then you are on the way to becoming a level 5 leader or level 5 entrepreneur. trust me, when you look at the great entrepreneurs, aside from people like Steve Jobs, which is an anomaly, and Jeff Bezos, right? The majority of them are really humble people, and they have a steely will, a focus.
Yeah. Like, well, one of mine is Richard Branson. Like amazing.
Yeah. He's really humble, isn't he?
Yeah, lovely, and very connecting, right?
Well, he's got emotional intelligence. Yeah. So, and I mean, yes, people with big ego do become successful entrepreneurs, but they don't necessarily last. That's the anomaly. And same with leadership. People with big egos just never go far. Sociopaths, psychopaths never go far. They're able to get to the top, but they're not able to perform. The ones that perform the best are the level 5 leaders who are humble and have high level of will.
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gone are the days, well, it still exists, but I don't think as much, where you had the ego-driven, well, stereotypical old big bloke who would start, and he was just, watching Roger Moore, for example, on
That's history. Yeah.
Whatever that was,
Palmers are the people, their history. What's his name?
Which one?
Palmer. What's his name?
Oh, Craig Palmer.
The guy from the independent guy that's
that's Craig Palmer.
Clive.
Yeah, Clive. Yeah, he's massive.
Palmer. Yeah, that's history.
Did you watch that show? Like, I'm starting up Fox with Fox News. It's really good. There's like a doco, and it's no, it's really cool.
Fox isn't my sort of cup of tea either.
I got into that during lockdown, right? It was awesome.
It's run by Rupert. I'm not interested.
It's very much in line with what we've been talking about. I mean, I know we kind of covered it, but if you could just summarize 3 top tips to help people. I mean, bringing all these things, we've got so many good points in here.
Yeah. One of the things I do say to people is you've got to have a steely focus and focus on just doing one thing you can become the best in the world at.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you're disciplined enough, then you'll know to say no to the things that don't fit into that one focus. Yeah. And the difference between a billionaire and a millionaire is, and this is a quote by Warren Buffett. He said, billionaires learn to say no more often than millionaires. Right. So, and the reason being, we call this the hedgehog concept. Again, it's a Jim Collins concept. And if you were interested, get the book From Good to Great. I don't know if you ever read it, but it's on Audible. It's investment in gold. Let me tell you, you'll get your investment back 10 times at least.
Who wrote that one?
Jim Collins, From Good to Great. And he talks about all these things, but he talks about what's called the hedgehog concept. Yeah. And the hedgehog concept, it comes from a Greek parable where the hedgehog only knows one thing. So they compare the hedgehog and the fox. The fox knows many things, he's very smart, whereas the hedgehog only knows one thing to survive. And when he gets in danger, the hedgehog just curls into a ball and he's got the spikes and then he can't be attacked, right? Yeah. So, and that's his survival mechanism. So the point behind that is learn to do one thing, do it well, and then be the best in the world you can be. And I say try to be the top 10 or 20% of the world at this. And people go chasing money all the time. So the next tip is stop chasing money. Yeah. Right. What you want to be, what you want to do is be the best in the world you can be at something, and the money will come.
Yeah.
Right. You want to make money, solve a complex problem. The more complex the problem is, right, the more money you'll make. For instance, poverty, plastic pollution, right? Climate change, right? Energy. And we've got an energy problem at the moment. If you're able to solve those problems, let me tell you, you can be the next trillionaire. You can be the next Elon Musk, right? So that's the thing. And I guess the other thing is by getting focus, you also get clarity as well.
Yeah.
Too many entrepreneurs are doing too many things at once. They're doing 5 things at once. There's an old Romanian saying, proverb, that the man that chases 2 rabbits catches neither. Right? So I love it, right? Because when you're doing 5 things, you can only dedicate 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%.
They're everywhere.
It's scattered, right? But if you're like focused, steely focused, right, and you have your focus, then it allows you to gain that power from the universe, right? You draw upon that power, right, and then it comes to you, and then you can move ahead. So that's why I say focus on just doing one thing, do it well, and be the best in the world at it. And the third thing that I want to outline is have a purpose. So the question I was asked to people: if money didn't matter, would you be doing your job right now, or would you be running this business? And if you can't answer that question, and the question, of course, then if no, then what would you be doing?
Yeah.
And that's essentially your purpose, right? You've got to be purpose driven. Otherwise, you're just like a ship sailing without a rudder. And I always say to people in my lectures is that everyone, the purpose of life is greatness. Right? Why we're on this world, in this earth, in my opinion, is we want to be great. Now, you don't have to be the next Gandhi or the Mother Teresa to be great. You can be a great mother, or you can be a great citizen, or you can be a great community member, or you can be a great prime minister or a great leader, right? But everyone has an opportunity to be great. So don't squander it. Don't squander it by being frivolous and watching Netflix and wasting time and doing things that aren't going to matter, because we've only got one life, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And we might as well use it to the best we can. So everyone has a chance to be great. It's just that we just don't squander it, basically. So we get distracted with the rat race.
Yeah, I was going to say just earlier on when we started this conversation that your passion was just, you could just see it. Just you're so passionate about being an entrepreneur, and I'm really big about your purpose is aligning your skill set with your joy, with things that bring you happiness, right? So,
absolutely, 100%. And so in terms of self-actualization, have we got the Maslow triangle? The top part of self-actualization, the peak of that is obviously mastery, right? Mastery of what you do, right? But if you can make money from what you love, right, then that's the peak of self-actualization. And let me tell you, when you look at billionaires and millionaires, they only do stuff that they love. Very rarely do you see people become a billionaire from stuff that they don't love. I mean, look at Elon Musk. He loves sending rockets in space and solving complex problems like energy and electric vehicles. He wakes up every day. He loves what he does, and that's the purpose. That's a purpose. Having a purpose is that when it rains, right, most people can't get up out of bed, right, because I'm not feeling well. When you have a purpose, it pulls you out of bed. Right.
Absolutely.
And
it's not work, right? It's just it's fun. It's joy.
And that's the key. You want to know the key. That's the key. And if you're not doing what you love, then you're wasting your time. Trust me, right? And I know this because I'm sort of getting in the upper end of my age bracket, but I had a mission to retire at 50 in Fiji. Right, it was my thing. I got there on age 50 and 350 something days, right? 54 days, I think it was, before I reached my 51st birthday, right? About a week or so, a week and a half before my 51st birthday. But I got there, right? Because I didn't want to go to my 70th, 80th birthday saying, geez, I wish I had done that when I was young. And it's the same thing with starting my business, going back to the earlier story. I didn't want to end up being a boring old engineer in my 40s and 50s saying, geez, I wonder what would have happened if I started that business. It would have eaten me to death. Right? And that's what you see with a lot of people. When you speak to lots of old people, that's the, I guess it's that rumbling in their system that they wish they had done something. They had done that. And then what happens, of course, if you believe in rebirth, which I believe in karma rebirth, is that if you don't complete your mission in this life, you'll be bound to come back and possibly repeat it. Right? You're going to keep going, right? Until you complete it. So I don't want to like get on my deathbed and go, geez, I wish I'd done that. Geez, I wish I'd gone to
No
the
regrets. No regrets.
no regrets. I did it, and I'm happy, and I'm happy to move on. And to, if I have to come back as a dog, I'll be happy about that, whatever, But so leave no regrets, and otherwise you're going to end up rebirthing. Trust me, right?
Oh, I love it. You and I the same language. This actually leads into my final question. How would you like to be remembered? What sort of legacy would you like to leave?
Look, that's a good question. I ask myself often that. But what I get, what gives me a buzz is seeing personal transformation.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of what I'm aiming for, and this is a personal thing, I'm aiming for enlightenment, right? Now, you may think, oh, it's a bit of a wanker, enlightenment. But the process of enlightenment is not for me. It's for the sake of all sentient beings, right?
Yeah.
So if I can be remembered for, helping people reach their enlightenment or reach their personal transformation or creating stuff that's amazing, then that would be my legacy. I don't need to have a street or a monument named after me. I don't care, right?
People change, right? Improve and just step higher and higher and higher,
What I care about is the evolution of the consciousness of the humankind, right? Yeah. And we have a chance to do that now post lockdown, right? And we need to evolve, otherwise we're just going to be extinct as a human race, right? And we're not evolving enough. And of course, what happens as we're evolving, what's also happening is the monsters are coming out as well, right? Trying to pull us back. And that's what we see with say what's happening in Ukraine and people like Putin, right? The more we keep evolving, the more the monsters are going to pull back. But eventually we are going to succeed, right? And for me, if we could evolve into a species where we can just go out, not have to work, have a life where we can, just enjoy what we do, focus on arts and crafts. And hey, you want to hang out at the beach, you can do that. If you want to make songs, you want to live, that was the vision of the guy that wrote Isaac Asimov. We came with the concept of robots. He said robots will eventually take over the world, so it will free up mankind to do the things that they love, right? And we're seeing this. We saw this during the lockdown, and I think the beauty of it was this was a taste, right? And the taste of this was people were getting paid to sit at home and do stuff. So a lot of people were learning languages. My brother-in-law was learning to play guitar. And I was learning to do online courses, create online courses. I never would have been able to do that if I'd been working and locked in the rat race.
Yeah.
So my vision is to free ourselves from the rat race. It's all in the mind as well. You don't have to be wealthy to retire. You just have to not have a spending habit that's of a millionaire spending habit, right? So evolution of mankind is kind of where we're at, but it's not for my purpose. It's for the sake of all human beings as well. So that would be my legacy. If I can help people evolve into greater beings and more kindness, and less animals getting killed. I'm a vegan, so it took me, being a vegan from or vegetarian for 24 years, vegan for 3 years now. So, it's being kind and loving and compassionate. That's all we need to do. I mean, come back from love. So love has the answers. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's the greatest thing for everyone all around the world is love and kindness.
So I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, no, I love it. And, part of this evolution, we've just touched on it in real life now, post-COVID, people changing their ways, their behaviours, not choosing to go out to all the restaurants all the time and, spending more time in nature doing camping and that sort of stuff, just changing our mindset about, what brings us happiness, really. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I could never get, I never understand this, right? That people would spend 45 minutes going to work, right? And 45 minutes every day coming back, right? So that's 90 minutes lost, right? You work that out over a week. So 90 minutes times 5, right? It's 450, and 9 5s are 45, so 450 minutes a week. you scale that over 40 years of working life, that's a huge amount of a chunk of your life just taken away by doing nothing, wasting time. Now what we're finding is people during lockdown, they had this extra hour and a half a day. They were spending it with their kids. They were spending time baking.
I was just about to say baking. Yep.
Learning things, instruments, and all that sort of thing. I mean, how wonderful is that?
It's back to basics, right? Like my personal situation, I was driving 4 to 6 hours a day, taking my kids to and from just their activities. And then all of a sudden I was lost. Like I didn't even get in my car. Like, you know, crazy. And we could only go 5K anyway. So I was walking, but I had all this extra time. I was getting so much more done. And absolutely. It was back to basics, just basic. Look, I was walking along the Yarra every day and watching like little bellbirds hatch and then the ducks hatch and watching them grow up. And then now I'm watching them have their babies. And it's, back to the stuff that counts, just like our ancestors grew up, So
well, can I tell you what I've achieved during lockdown? I've launched I launched 3 websites, right?
Of course you have, yeah.
I wrote a book, right? And I was able to pull together a course in entrepreneurship, 40 lessons, this Startup Fundamentals program. Now, if I do working, there's no way I could have done any of that. And it just keeps evolving. And now, and of course, I've got time to do these networking things like the Happy Neighborhood Project and all those things. They take time. Most people go, I can't go because I don't have time. Well, it's because you don't know how to prioritize and organize your time. So it just takes focus. And most people are blown away by what I achieve, but I don't care. It's more to be.
But I think that's all part of your journey, right? Because it was like you've got to keep failing and failing and failing fast so that you learn from it. And it's the same with every sort of perceived disaster or experience. There's always a positive out of it, right? So
the thing is, after COVID, when COVID came, I was kind of pushed into the wall basically, and that wall was shit. I just realized I don't have any income coming in. Okay, well, I need to reinvent myself, and the only safe thing for me now is go online, because face to face is gone as far as I'm concerned. Like the beauty of being now online is I can go back to Fiji or Bali or wherever, and I can just run my business. I don't have to be in Australia. I'm not a tree. I might as well just move around and have a great time in between. So that's the realization I've come to. So I've steered that ship in that direction, and successfully, and now I'm happy to do that, because now I'm gonna have a retreat in about 42 days.
Wow.
And I'm going to be basically doing work from there, and still running my events, and hopefully there'll be a real background in the background. I do the HMP thing. You'll be seeing Tobi live from Bali or something like that. That's just the way it is, and that's just the path that I've chosen. And if I can turn this into a 5-month a year lifestyle, hey, let's not make it 5 months a year. Let's make it 12 months of the year in different parts of the world. Why not?
Well, and absolutely, there's no such word as can't, and you are living the dream because you've created it and you're believing in it.
Well, absolutely. I've been there. I've been there. I've retired it in Fiji. It's like, this is not as hard as everyone makes it out to be. Everyone goes, oh wow, it's really exotic. Yeah, I went through a few hurdles and hoops and stuff, but I got there eventually. It wasn't impossible. Right, it's just you've got to have the will and the mindset. That's the thing. You know what I mean? And now I can redo this on a different scale. It's like, I can go back to Fiji, and I can run my business, and I can make money, and not have to worry about lockdowns, not have to worry about quarantine, not have to worry about the local economy is not running well, blah blah blah. That I want to talk to Tobi or whatever it is. Now I've got my own global market. I can be anywhere.
Yeah, you are blooming post.
I'll be in the Caribbean.
Oh my gosh, you're such a fascinating person, Tobes. I've just absolutely loved our conversation. And, so interesting. And, getting that mindset right is so important, because the abundance is there. Just go out and take it.
Absolutely. And that's what people think. It's like a zero sum. It's a zero sum game. and those people get caught up in a zero sum game. I'm not in that game.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something else, right? In the future, money's not going to matter, right?
Yes.
And how you're going to deal with that is another thing. But the good thing about COVID, it's become a leveler.
Yeah.
All these people that had all these things happening now, it's back to a level. And so now those people that can adapt are got to be the new leaders of the world. But
So talking my language.
think about this in terms of if money's not going to matter. And people say, you're crazy, Toby. And I did that masters. I said that in my masters and they were laughing at me, absolutely laughing at me. They go, we'll hold you to that, Toby. Yeah. And I'm like, you just don't understand. You haven't got a clue, right? But now we're seeing this happen. This is back in 2009, right? Now we're seeing this with crypto, people making money out of thin air.
Yeah.
Making squillions. I know it's volatile and all that. But the point is, people making money out of thin air stocks as well, right?
Yeah.
So now we've got more opportunity, and in the future, the only thing that's going to matter is water, air, and land, right? The rest is all just going to be nonsense. It's all what the Hindus call Maya, which is illusion. Stop chasing the illusion. That's what I'd say.
This is a whole other conversation, but the world moving forward is never going to be the way it has been in the past.
No way. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's the same as after World War II. It's the same as after S11, right? The world has completely changed after S11. It's gone into the dark phase, right? The war after Putin, the world after Putin, again, COVID is going to change. The world after Putin is going to change. Right? After this Ukraine thing, we're either going to blow ourselves up or there's going to be a whole new paradigm occurring. And now it's just time to go out and do what you want. Don't listen to others. Just do what you feel.
Oh, absolutely. I've just finished re-listening to Conversations with God. That was written back in 94. And it's just, I think the more that we can just be at peace and just adapt and reinvent ourselves and just go with the flow and trust and believe and just get that mindset right, you're in very good stead for moving forward in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting, the reinvention as well, because I keep reinventing myself. Then I actually did a map of my life historically, right? And it's interesting that from about the age of 7, right? But I had significant moments in my life where I was either natural or I reinvented myself, and it happened on a 5-year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of went to 18, then it went to 23, then it went to 28, then it went to 33, then 38, blah blah blah. So and again at 53, there's been a change, and now next cycle is going to be at 58, basically. So which I'm heading. I'm waiting for the next cycle. But interestingly, it's been a natural thing. I'd never realised until I sat down and mapped it out. I had some significant things happen to me when I was 33, right?
Yeah.
That was a game changer for me. And then that's when I sort of mapped it backwards, because I was ill when I was really young. Mm-hmm. Around about the age of 9, I nearly died. So that was quite a significant thing. And because I had meningitis in a foreign country, and many children die from meningitis if you get that. So I was very lucky. 5 years before that, I had a hepatitis. I nearly jaundice. I nearly died from that as well. So I nearly died 3 times. So as a child. So since then, knock on wood now. No, I've been lucky that I've been really healthy. But I make proactive steps towards that as well by being a vegan. Really important.
Absolutely. So after all of this, where can people get in hold of you, in touch with you? I think I'll post the links up. I've got LinkedIn, email, website. So
the easiest way to get hold of me is through LinkedIn, right? Because that's probably the most stable. But if you are interested in a retreat also, have a look. There's a link there, right? It's r3retreat.co. All right. The easiest way is just connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm always happy to help people and have a chat. And if we can create value for each other, then let's collaborate. I don't believe in competition. I believe that there's enough, there's enough abundance in the world for everyone. especially entrepreneurship, right? It's a big pie. And the reality is, deep inside, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. The other reality is not everyone has the courage to do that, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage, and I guess to find how to make money from what you do. That's the courage bit. It's really hard, but everyone, like, again, it's I think Michael Gerber calls in the E-Myth. It's another book that you need to read if you're interested. The E-Myth, by revisited by Michael Gerber, and he talks about I guess entrepreneurial seizure, and he says everyone has entrepreneurial seizure, and that is they're really good at something. So then what they do is I'm good at baking cakes. So what do I want to do? I want to open up a cake shop, right, or a pie shop.
Yeah.
Right? And that's that entrepreneurial seizure. And a lot of people fail because they're technician, they're not marketers, they're not HR people, they're not financial people. So to be an entrepreneur, you've got to be like a conductor of the orchestra. You've got to be able to orchestrate the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Most people just technician. Anyway, so that's that can get hold of me. But yeah, I've talked a lot. So
and just finally, your online 90-day course, how much is that?
The online it's $2,997 US, so nearly $3,000 US.
Yep.
Right. And again, it can bring significant value from it, because if it's one client, I saved him $50,000 and he just thanked me.
Yeah.
He goes, thank you.
The big investments, really.
Well, yeah, because he wanted to start a business in his own shed. He's going to set the machinery up. It was an almond milk business, and I'm like, whoa, hang on here. You don't need all that machinery to start an almond milk business. Just do it in your kitchen in the blender, and then go out and see if you can sell it.
Yeah.
And what happened was he can make money from it. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. He goes, thank you for allowing me to do that.
Tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not the cost of the course, right? The program. It's the value it creates for you in saving time and money. And most people also forget about the opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost is, what else could I be doing with my money that would make me money?
Yeah.
So not only are you losing money in time, but if you put that money correctly, you could be actually making money on something else as well. So that's what allows people to do. And most people in corporate want to figure this out quickly. Yeah, they've got a money, they don't want to spend 2 years figuring it out if it's not going to work. Hey, let's figure out 90 days. I mean, I had one guy, one of my candidates, and he went halfway through the program and he said, Toby, I'm really not into what I'm doing. And he was disappointed. And I was like, wow, this is great. Yeah. And I said, well, you figured this out really quickly. And I knew it was going to work, but I couldn't tell him, right?
Yeah.
It was a hard slog, right? But I said to him, listen, if you're not waking up in the morning, you're not in the shower, on the toilet, having breakfast, driving to work, thinking about your business, then chances of you succeeding are infinitesimally low.
Yeah.
You've got to really be into what you're doing, because that's what's going to drive you. And that's what's going to wake you up in the morning. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to end up having a business that's a job, a replacement for your job, but it's a job with headaches. And that is, tax, superannuation, employees, rent, getting locked into 3x3 leases, right? Who wants that? You know what I mean? So you want to be trying to do business that actually drives you and you get passionate about it. Otherwise, you will end up broke.
Yep.
And if you're unlucky, your marriage will break up as well.
Oh yeah. It's so true. What drives you and having that passion, it's just
got to be passion focused.
Just keep it simple, and then, as you said, it's going to get you out of bed. It's going to get you, those days in filling them with joy and doing what you love, like you going on your retreats. And
yeah. Although passion can be also a dangerous animal as well, because you can become over passionate, or what we call optimism bias. So again, Jim Collins talks about this in his book. And he says it's good to be optimistic, but you also be able to confront the brutal facts.
Yeah.
So with passion, it has to be sort of a boundary. And in Buddhism, they call it the middle path. So it's not extreme.
Yeah.
Or not living a life that's unpassionate, because then it's just not point in living. You're just existing. You're just wasting air, right?
Yeah.
Right. So focus on the middle path. You know what I mean? So be passionate, but also be realistic.
Yeah,
that's the discipline.
I like that one. Be passionate, but also be realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
but also be realistic. Fantastic.
Confront the brutal facts.
Sorry?
Confront the brutal facts.
Yeah. Confront the brutal facts. Fantastic. Oh, Toby, thank you so much. This has been fantastic and an eye-opener. Lots of information there, lots of stuff to unpack. And I'm going to listen to this again after this, because there's so much to take out, so many golden nuggets in there.
Absolutely. And 30 years of experience in running businesses and getting insights. And that's what I teach people to do is to get insights based around actual evidence. And so we turn away from being the wacky entrepreneur into putting the white coat on with the pens in there and become the scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to have evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Toby, honestly, I can't thank you enough for imparting so much of your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience with all of us. And, hopefully you can help some people that are in this entrepreneur world and a little bit stuck, or just feeling, maybe even if it's one person that resonates and has that light bulb moment of like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. I don't have that clarity. I don't have that focus. I don't have that drive. I don't have that vibe with it, just fail and start again.
And the thing is, one point I want to leave on is it's not about the idea, right? The idea is almost irrelevant, right?
Yeah,
people keep harping on or driven by the idea. It's the idea is only a small part of it, because ideas are dime a dozen. I mean, I get 10 ideas a day about how to run a business or make money, right? It's about the execution of the idea and the team you build around that, because that's what's going to lead you to success. And unless you're able to have those emotional intelligence skills, you're never able to build a team that's going to grow into a business. You'll just become the lone wolf entrepreneur, as we call it. And the lone wolf entrepreneur can never grow a business. They just stay as a job, basically. You're just building yourself a job with headaches. So that's what I'll leave you with.
That's right, building yourself a job with headaches. So I love it. Oh man, you make me laugh. I could speak for hours, but anyway, Toby, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's enjoyable. It's all the chats to you selling.
I just think you're the bee's knees, and you're always so laid back and cool and calm that you don't realize you've got all this magnificent going on behind the scenes as well. So
it's like the onion.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, thank you once again, and I look forward to catching up with you.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah, enjoyable. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you, everyone.